The tariffs introduced by Donald Trump has sent shockwaves across the global financial landscape, threatening long-standing trade relationships and distorting markets. Among the hardest hit are the poorest countries, especially 32 low-income African nations that have benefited from duty-free access to the U.S. market since 2000. The African Growth and Opportunity Act, or AGOA, provides sub-Saharan African nations with duty-free access to the U.S. for nearly 7,000 products, helping many low-income countries with unsustainable debt levels. AGOA is set to expire in September 2025, and while there were already concerns about its reauthorization, the new tariffs may be a worse blow. With AGOA, U.S. imports from these nations reached $9.7 billion in 2023, including crude oil, apparel, and agricultural products. South Africa, Nigeria, Ghana, and Angola are the top exporters to the U.S. The program's impact has been uneven. U.S. imports from AGOA countries peaked in 2008 at $86 billion, but have since dropped significantly, averaging $26 billion in the past 5 years. Oil prices, which dominate imports, have fluctuated wildly, and the composition of exports has shifted. A 2024 Brookings assessment showed a 241% increase in non-oil exports from AGOA countries, while oil exports have fallen by 50%. The new tariffs, ranging from 10% to a steep of 60% on countries, could cripple economies, especially those dependent on U.S. markets for apparel. Fortunately, energy exports are exempt from the tariffs, so oil-rich nations like Angola and Nigeria will be largely unaffected. However, small economies, particularly Lesotho, Mauritius, and Madagascar, are extremely vulnerable as they rely heavily on the apparel industry. The tariff changes are also disrupting African trade dynamics. Kenya, a major apparel exporter, faces a 20% tariff but remains relatively competitive compared to countries like Lesotho. The broader global apparel market, including major exporters like China and India, is similarly reeling from these tariffs. And for the latest, our correspondent Kalden Ongmu reports from Johannesburg.
The world is shifting. The US wants to focus on local manufacturing and reduce its reliance on other countries. That means countries like South Africa needs to quickly find new trade partners and fresh opportunities, especially in markets like China and India. South Africa's International Relations Minister, Ronald Lamola, says the new US import tariffs will have serious implications for South Africa's economy. Lamola has said South Africa will now consider other options to mitigate against Trump's move. He says the country will continue building domestic supply resilience, reducing cost of doing business, and increasing competitiveness of South Africa's economy. Big auto giants like Mercedes and BMW for long have used South Africa as a base for global exports, but those plans may shift now. Experts say most companies are here purely not because they are selling vehicles in South Africa itself, but they are here to produce vehicles for global markets, and it's important for them to remain global competitive. South Africa has long enjoyed duty-free automotive exports to the US under Africa Growth and Opportunity Act, but that will change drastically now.